Hi everybody, welcome back to 100% Mag. So yesterday was of course my birthday, and of course Newcastle took on West Brom as well down at the Hawthorns. But before we get into that review on the game against West Brom, I do want to say an absolutely massive thank you to everybody who sent us birthday wishes yesterday for, of course, what was my 31st birthday. And a big massive thank you as well, most importantly, to my family for an absolutely fantastic day. The result in football might have not been the greatest, but I still had a really great birthday. And you might have seen on social media my parents and my brother and sister, getting us an absolutely amazing birthday cake with, of course, 100% Mag's logo on it, because that's what I'm all about right now. I'm doing YouTube, and I'm really loving doing the videos and getting them out and having the conversations with all of you guys, that watch the videos on a regular basis. Just to name a few people like Jonathan Young, Funko Freddy, there's also Thomas, 321 Laugh Out Loud as well. There's so many I could name. Andrew Young as well, Jonathan Young's brother. There's just so many people that I could name that watch the videos. Even my family watch the videos, so just a big massive thank you to everybody, and most importantly, of course, to my family for an absolutely fantastic birthday yesterday. Anyway, let's get on to the match review. So Newcastle United, of course, took on West Brom down at the Hawthorns, and I did say in my match preview that I was looking for Newcastle to get nothing less than a win in this game, and we needed nothing less than a win in this game because, as you can see, with the Premier League table, of course, Chelsea are playing their game right now, but as you can see with the Premier League table, we're down in 16th place, 27 points, with, of course, Fulham on 26 points, and of course we've got 27 games, they've got 28 played, and we've got that game come up against Aston Villa. We've got to be performing at a high standard in these games coming up, because if we look at the way we performed in that game, just gone against West Brom yesterday, there was just no attacking threat. There was nothing there, There was just absolutely nothing that showed that we could come away from that game with a win. And it's quite embarrassing, really, because, that's something we've been saying quite a lot this season. And that's why, one of the reasons, not because he was a Sunderland manager, but one of the reasons that I didn't want Steve Bruce being the manager of Newcastle United, I didn't want him being the manager of my club, because, you look at the past, at what he's done, at all them clubs that he's been at. He's had a 20-plus year career, and he hasn't improved any of them teams whatsoever. And we've seen it all season. He just does not know what to do. He should not be in this job. He should be out of this job by now. He should have been sacked after the loss to Brentford in the Carabao Cup. And the fact that Mike Ashley hasn't sacked him yet is absolutely crazy to think, why hasn't he sacked him yet? And there can only be one reason, he wants to keep him in that job until, of course, this takeover eventually does go through, which, like I put out in the previous video, about the takeover update at the club. We had Luke Edwards saying that there was no arbitration. Arbitration was on hold, and then only a matter of 2 days later, we've got the club updating on arbitration process, saying that it's underway, they're selecting the panel, and so how credible of a journalist is Luke Edwards? But we're getting off subject, of course. We talk about the game against West Brom, and I've got to say, that was some really bad football. If we had possibly had Callum Wilson in there, Almiron in there, Maxi in there, you know, that would have been a lot better. We would have had a much better chance, but the attacking threat was just absolutely dreadful. And the team selection as well. Don't get us started on that. That was absolutely pathetic. What was with the team selection? Literally, Jeff Hendrick going in, you had a much better players on the bench than you did in the team. Jeff Hendrick going into the team, we had Emil Kraft, which is fair enough, to be honest. Emil Kraft can actually play some decent football on his day, but Jeff Hendrick has absolutely done nothing for this club since coming in from Burnley on a free. He has been absolutely terrible. He's sucked up the money as past players have, you know, like Michael Owen. He's just here to collect a paycheck, and that's all he is here to do. And, you know, there's players like John Joe Shelby as well, who are exactly the same, just here to collect a paycheck. When they want to play, you know, they can be amazing, especially John Joe Shelby. But Jeff Hendrick, we haven't seen him do anything of note. Maybe the first game of the season against West Ham, but since then, you know, it's just been complete and utter dross from him. He's just collecting a paycheck for absolutely nothing. What happened, you know, to the likes of Matty Longstaff coming into the squad? He signed a new deal so that he could get game time, and we're still not seeing him getting any game time. He's played against Man City and one other of the top six, which I can't quite remember who it was, but he played against Man City on Boxing Day, I believe it was. And since then, we haven't really seen him play. And the same with Sean Longstaff as well. You know, he's been frozen out of the squad. And I can see why people like Matt Ritchie are kicking up such a stink with Steve Bruce, because these players are absolutely amazing players when they get a play. And they're not getting a play, because he's picking players like John Joe Shelby, who, let's face it, he really doesn't want to be here. You can see it by the way he's playing. You know, he's got his head down most of the time, and he just doesn't seem to care for the name on the front of the shirt. He's more for the name on the back of the shirt, and an individual. And the same goes for Jeff Hendrick. You know, he does not need to be playing in our team. He needs to be gone. And we've got much better players there that are being overlooked for these absolutely shite, dross players. You know, we could have had Jacob Murphy in there for that game against West Brom on the wing. He would have done a better job. We've got other players like Dwight Gale. He could have been in there from the off. He would have done a better job. Andy Carroll coming on very late in the game, now on before the game finishes, being used as a player to time waste. A player like Andy Carroll to time waste. Are you off your tits, Steve Bruce? You have got to be off your tits to be doing that. Literally, especially when the approach towards the game was to smash a long ball up the field for a player to take it down and pass it off to players on the wing. That's Andy Carroll's forte, man. That's Andy Carroll's forte. You need to have players like that in the team if you're going to be going with that kind of mentality. But that game against West Brom, absolutely terrible. And, you know, what we're going to do going into these games coming up, I do not know. But we're in a very, very dodgy position right now. We're in a very, very bad position with Fulham getting that win against Liverpool as well. You know, that just came out of left field. It was absolutely crazy that Liverpool allowed Fulham to just go at Anfield and win 1-0. I watched the game, and for me, it looked like Liverpool was just completely and utterly allowing Fulham just to have their way and just do what they wanted. Fair enough, there was a couple of incidents in the game where Liverpool should have probably got a penalty, but, you know, We've been saying it, the referees have been screwing Newcastle over all season on decisions. And yes, it was Liverpool versus Fulham, but that was another decision where if Liverpool had got penalty that Mo Salah won, you know, it would have ended up giving Liverpool the lead, and then Liverpool would have ended up going on to win the game, and that's something that the Premier League don't want, because we can see it, blatant as day, right in front of we. You don't have to be Stevie Wonder to see this, that the Premier League are trying to kick Newcastle United down into the Championship. They do not want us in the Premier League anymore. They did it at Sunderland, they did it at Middlesbrough. They do not want North East teams in the Premier League. And to be honest, looking at it from a football fan's perspective, looking at it from being a Newcastle fan, that is a bad commercial move. The last time Newcastle United went down into the Championship, was absolutely dreadful on a commercial point for Sky Sports. They lost so much money commercially for doing that. They had to rebrand their entire lineup because they made a bad decision in that fact of Newcastle being relegated. Now, I'm not saying that they deliberately made decisions so that we would get relegated, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that there is the odd occasion here and there where you can see the corruption of the Premier League, where they are manipulating games to their liking, and that's got to stop. That's anti-competitive, and that's something we're talking about arbitration. That's why we're going to arbitration, because of this anti-competitiveness of the Premier League. We've seen it with BN this summer, sending letters to the other 19 teams of the Premier League. It's absolutely beyond a joke, man. You can't do that. It's anti-competitive. And that's something that has to stop in world football. It doesn't just happen only in the Premier League, neither. We've seen it in Italy, with Juve. They ended up being found out for cheating. AC Milan ended up being found out for cheating. There was a couple of others as well. Surprisingly, the only team that wasn't in Italy was Inter Milan. Now, I've got to say, it's just absolutely dreadful what is going on at the moment. We've waited, I think, about 15 months for this takeover to go through, and I've got to say it's absolutely pathetic the way it's being dealt with. It needs to be sorted, and it needs to be sorted properly. You can't be doing business like this, and eventually it is going to be sorted and we will get our takeover. But that game against West Brom yesterday was just another typical Bruce ball, where it was just absolutely dreadful football for a full 90 minutes. And as somebody said on Twitter, El Jurassico, and that is exactly what it was. And I'll literally go to that, for the fact that that was right on the button by that person. El Jurassico, that is exactly what it was. El Jurassico, because you've got a manager like Steve Bruce and a manager like Sam Allardyce, who shouldn't be even in the game anymore. They're clearly not made for the modern day game, and they should have retired from the sport years ago. Absolutely years ago. But anyway, I'm rambling on now. Remember to like, share and subscribe to the channel. I'm on the road to 500 subscribers, and we'll have to see what we can do in these games coming up, but we need to win. We cannot get any more draws, and we can't get any losses, because that is just going to well and truly kill we. But one last time, thank you to everybody for the birthday wishes yesterday. That was absolutely amazing, and of course, like I say, most importantly to my family for an absolutely fantastic day, and I'll see you all next time. How are the lads?